Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so kindly for joining us. Welcome to Green Apple Books on the Park. My name is Cara Johnson. I'm the event coordinator for Green Apple, and tonight I am very happy. I'm very happy to have you all here, and I'm also very happy that we are celebrating Roque Salas Rivera's book, Algarabía, the Song of Cenex, natural son of the Isle Alarabíyya. He is joined tonight by Caro De Robertis and Alexis Aceves Garcia. Let's give a hand for all. Thank you for joining us here in person and also online. Hello, online audience. I'm waving to a camera if you can't see. We open each of our events with a land acknowledgement, so I would like to let you know that we are operating on unceded Robertis and Alexis land. We think that acknowledgement requires action, and so we encourage you to donate either your time or monetary means to an Indigenous organization each time you hear a land acknowledgement. We have details at the back desk about the Robertis Ohlone Land Trust. That is one of many ways to participate in this project of rematriation if you are interested. So, I have very brief business before I let these three take over. What you can expect tonight is readings from each of our writers here, and we're going to have a bit of an audience Q&A at the end. Sound okay? Great, thank you. Okay. Now's a good time, if you have not already, to silence your cell phones. Please don't take a call in the middle of the event. That would be great. How do we feel about photo taking? I usually ask that before. Okay, cool. Fine with it, but only good photos, no bad photos. That is not allowed. Yes. Great, only flattering ones. Please do check out our full event calendar online at greenapplebooks.com. We have a really great season ahead of us, including the event you are currently attending. Please do, if you're able, buy books. Please do buy books from us, your hosts, this evening, if you are able. If you've been here before, you've certainly heard me say that when you buy books from us, not only do you support us as an independent bookstore, you support the writers who put so much work into making these books. And then you get to have a book, which might be the best part. Roque is visiting us today in the Bay Area. It's very exciting. He's not here all the time, so take advantage of that. Maybe have him sign a copy of your book. And we have books by both Roque and Caro as well. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first reader. First, Alexis Aceves Garcia is a T-boy poet and educator dreaming against the state. We love to hear and see it, yes. Chosen as a finalist for the Radix 2025 Megaphone Prize, Aceves Garcia's manuscript, Time is a Silly Boy, was described as incredibly, incredibly tender by judge and style icon Safia Elvio. You can find their poems, archival scans, and linocut experiments in the Hopkins Review, Poet.org, Poem a Day series, The Slowdown, Peach Mag, and others. Please give another hand for Alexis Aceves Garcia.
Hi. I'm so fucking happy to be here in celebration of Roque's book, Algarabía, and meeting Cenex in this text has been such a fucking joy. And I feel so happy that we get to celebrate tonight together. And I'm also thinking about, we were just talking about how hard it is to envision a future. And I'm also celebrating because I can see how this text will be so, oh my God, celebrated for so long and just be such a possibility model for so many trans people, trans myth makers, trans writers. And so I'm celebrating now, and I'm also celebrating in the future. Even though it's hard to see, I see this book in the future. And I wanted to open or help ground the space with something that Roque wrote at the end of a note on nomenclature and style, where he wrote, "I am a body that is the product of interventions, proudly impure, and so is this poetry." I feel that so fucking deeply. And yeah, just getting to know Cenex has been amazing. And I was just telling him, like, I relate so much to Cenex, and I also am like, how did you get my porn history in this book? Like, what? Jock pussy. Anywhoosie. Thank you. I'm going to read some sonnets. I'm teaching a class called The Sonnet is Trans, and I fucking mean it. And I just have been thinking a lot about the potentiality of the form and how it's built a whole transformation. And so I'll be reading some sonnets about that for me, and some kind of trans myth making that I've done for myself. I was trying out another name, Ralphie, with an F-I, which I thought was like so cute. So I feel like Ralphie and Cenex would be friends, or maybe Ralphie would learn a lot from Cenex and like shapeshift and like, I don't know, become a like a bee or something, half bee, half boy. Safety is a ritual. Oh, and I'm just going to read them all. So, thanks for having me. Safety is a ritual. I rub tea gel over the underworld jaguar tattooed on my shoulder and ask for protection. He asks for sacrifice. I chemical a season of spring. I grow water lilies from mud and spit the past into a napkin. I feed him my train from Penn Station, a self I left on the platform, the goodbye from my mouth. Ticking from every inherited wristwatch, every black leather boxing bag my knuckles calloused against, and the names I held between my teeth. And in return, he stays to dance. Holds my topical tunnel, wraps my knuckles in silk, again and again. Safety is a ritual. Under my knuckles again and again, I swing at the bag, the bodies of men, how my dad liked to fight other boys when he was a teen, and where is that gene in me? I buy a stuffed golden retriever full of lavender from the hospital gift shop for my mom, and the staff call me her son. There it is on the whiteboard next to my phone number, son. And I'm 32 when I grip Abuelo's small gun. His machetes now rusted and resting in my tío's garages. Who gets them next? I am always in danger. Take my place in line. I can teach you how to keep your hands up. Safety is a ritual. I lean back and enter the deep churn of the barbershop seat when Larry asks if I'm on hormones and runs the blade to my chin between two puberties. Glitch the family line and call me Luis. Ay abuelo, ay primo Luis. Remember the strip mall spa play dates with Jessica, the esthetician, who waxed boyhood's upper lip blue-green using a popsicle stick? Larry, I am no simple answer body. Mom keeps curls from my first haircut in a Ziploc behind the Virgin in the closet. I keep coming here to see an ancient face, sweep my hair into dust, hold the mirror. Safety is a ritual. Sweep my hair into dust, hold the mirror to the cherub-cheeked Ralphie, who I name at the Fashion Valley Mall while Mom slips clearance boots on at Steve Madden. Ralphie is the part of me that flips pancakes, spreads peanut butter, no syrup, grows taller than his father, wears round glasses to drive west, cries into the Pacific, say sorry to Ralphie. Dad, have you met my lack of apology? Over 100 boxing classes, read the raps. This is your son Ralphie, punching the bag, shifting hips, pouring water on your mother's headstone. Ralphie tends the altar, heals the old wound. Safety is a ritual. Ralphie tends the altar, heals the old wound of father, of son, with the Holy Spirit of Berreo in the motherland, tongue-kissing outside of Travesura. We rub our bodies against each other so fucking good, the bar keeps an eye on us. their hands on my shaved head, the cumbia loud in our mouths. I'm a small-chested, soft-bellied god here in the ciudad heat, a kind of boy my father could never be. I pull my lover to me by their bleach blonde hair. I can't get enough of us in this neon light, flashing on our faces. We hunger for each other and eat and eat. Thank you.
Can we keep it going for Alexis?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for grounding us. And I meant to say, but I'm overwhelmed by trans epicness. So I forgot to mention this is a night of trans epicness, and I'm really glad to see you all here for it. I've been really looking forward. Our next reader, I'm really happy to introduce, who's someone I've admired for a very long time. I'm very glad to have them here. A writer of Uruguayan origins, Caro De Robertis is the author of So Many Stars, an oral history of trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and two-spirit people of color, as well as The Palace of Eros, which won the Golden Poppy Octavia E. Butler Award. They also have a lot of accolades, so I'm going to keep it brief, okay? They're also the author of The President and the Frog, Cantores, The Gods of Fango, Perla, and the international bestseller, The Invisible Mountain. They're also an award-winning translator of Latin American literature and the editor of the anthology Radical Hope, Letters of Love and Dissent in Dangerous Times. Let's give a hand for Caro De Robertis.
Thank you so much, Car, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Green Apple Books. Thank you, Roque, for including us in this celebration of you. Alexis, thank you for that incredible reading. Wasn't that amazing? It was just so, I know, right? You can't give it up enough for Alexis and for Roque. Thank you, all of you, for coming and for being here tonight. It is such a joy to share this space with you and commune with you and celebrate Algarabía, this incredible book. Roque, thank you for flying all the way from Puerto Rico today. That's a lot of travel with a stop along the way so that you could be with us. It means so much to have you here in our community. And this is such an incredible book. I mean, it is absolutely the trans epic centaur poem, the trans epic centaur anti-imperialist, wildly imagined speculative poem that you have been craving and needing. And now you can have that wholeness and completion. It means so much to me to read this book. And, you know, it is in English on one side and Spanish on the other. And I was just saying to Roque, I've been reading the English, peeking on one side, into the Spanish. I started with the English because I'm teaching it in English in a graduate seminar at San Francisco State this fall. Go Gators. And but I am going to have to read the whole thing in Spanish because the Spanish lives and breathes all its own. It's not a translation. It's a parallel universe, which is how many of us experience our relationship to our lenguajes, to our tongues. It was so incredible. There's even a character in there called Caro, who has a little rhyme, which is so badass. And I read it in English, and I was like, this rhymes. What is it in Spanish? And it was completely different. And I might have to get it tattooed one day. So that is just to salute you for all of the beautiful labor and brilliance that you put into this book so that we could have this universe alive with us. On that note, I'm just going to read a little bit from So Many Stars. This is, I'm primarily a novelist, but this is an oral history. It's a gathering of trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and two-spirit elders of color. It was part of a fellowship that I did, and it weaves people's voices together into a narrative arc. So the opening is chapter about childhoods, different childhoods, how people experience their first glimmers of their truest gender in childhood, and it kind of moves through different stages of life, contributions to the world, transitions, activism, art, all of these different parts of life. And so I'm going to jump us right in towards the end of the book and read small slices from the chapter on later evolutions, which is where these trans elders, who we don't often get to hear from in their elderhood, give us some testimonies from their absolute ongoing existence. Later evolutions. Seton Jobe Dugas. Yesterday was my 60th birthday, which is crazy. Literally, I woke up in the morning yesterday, went in the bathroom, washed my face, and looked at myself. I said, this is what 60 looks like? Weird. God, I never expected to make it past 30. I let fear rule me. I escaped in drugs and alcohol. At points of my life, I got really suicidal because I isolated. And not until I opened my mouth and spoke the fears to my chosen family could I laugh about it. It's just amazing being able to say I've been on this planet 6 decades. Part of me still feels like I'm 21. My spirit is quite alive. I've got a lot of work to do here. I made it past 30. Now I'm 60. What the hell? I'm going to live. Sharon Grayson. I've had so many people tell me I've never seen a 73-year-old Black trans woman. I never knew they existed. I can't even comprehend that. I value myself. I know who I am. I know that I'm not going to accept anything less than what I think I'm entitled to. I don't want to take anything from anybody. I just want the opportunity to live my life, and that's it. Okay, 1 second. Jumping around. Donna Persona. It isn't over till it's over. It only gets better, or it should get better. And in my case, I want people in their 70s and 60s to understand you have less to lose by taking a chance on things, making an attempt. This is where you belong. Have that in your mind, right at this age. It can happen for you if you're young at heart. Love what you do and bring it on. You can have anything in this life. I'm only beginning. I'm 76. My life is so splendid. I'm in love with it. I'm in love with life. It's a beautiful cocktail. You can thrive. You can be magnificent at an old age. Tupili Leia Arellano. I'm still a street fighter. I thought by now I'd be so mellowed out. Oh no. I still want to get in the street and kick ass. I want to kick ass about racism, I'm a peleonera. Oh, I'm ready. I'm down. That surprises me because I really thought I wouldn't have this much fire in me still. Nelson Dalerta Perez. In this period of my life, I've had a lot of health problems. I've had knee surgery. I'm currently recovering. But I return to art. Art has been my healing and my focus. I keep learning to live with the people I live with and with myself. That's my present moment. And if I had to live it all again, I would do the same. I've had a glorious life journey. There have been ups and downs, but in the end, it's been wonderful. And it's still full of colors, lots of makeup and dresses and feathers and hats and drag and high heels and laughter. So much laughter. So much joy in living. So much desire for life. Tupili Leia Arellano. I'm still on my journey of becoming my full self. It's lifelong. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much you've studied and worked. Becoming ourselves is lifelong and it's fluid. There's so much possibility in that. Crystal Mason. I see my life as a creation and a thing that creates. I feel like I'm in a constant state of creating myself still. If I'm lucky, I'll remain in that state until the moment I die. Finally, I'm just going to read a couple of very short snippets from the penultimate chapter, which is Thoughts for Younger Generations. These elders had so much love to share with younger trans and non-binary folks that it demanded a whole chapter. Thoughts for Younger Generations. Fresh Live White. What I want younger generations to know, we're thinking of them. We know that they're coming. We are all, in our own ways, making way for them. Crystal Mason. Part of me feels like the job of my generation is to create the conditions where our younger, gender nonconforming kids of color can live their best lives, whatever their lives may be. I want them to be able to live the lives they imagine for themselves. It's part of our job as elders to believe in movement and change. Josenio Lewis. The journey is always going to be amazing and scary and revealing, and the journey never ends. It doesn't end until you take your last breath. So there's always a chance to learn something new. There's always a chance to learn a new way to be in connection with someone. There's always another opportunity. Joan Benoit. To the younger generation, trust the universe. Trust it. Good comes out of everything. I really believe that. Tread lightly and try to do no harm, and love the people around you as hard as you can. It's the best we can do. KB Boys. I hope that youth can find the things that give them that bravery, that strength, like punk rock did for me, so that they can move forward and just say, to hell with it. I need to do this. I'm doing it. Because we need the youth to do that. We need you to be brave, and no matter what, just do it. Do it. And create that next wave for the ones who come after you. Sharon Grayson. You can be who you want to be, and you can be happy. Don't accept anything less. You are entitled to it just like everybody else. Be you. Be you and enjoy. Understand, this is such a precious gift. Life, live it. Live it in a way that you hope to leave something for the others who come behind you. That's it. KB Boys, we are the dreams of our ancestors. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Can we give one more hand for Caro, please? Thank you for working behind me. I see the space is happening. I appreciate it. Roque, I cannot believe you came from Puerto Rico today. That's wild to me. Thank you so much. This adds like a whole other level of privilege that we get to spend the evening together. Without further ado, I'd love to go ahead and introduce our final reader this evening. Roque Salas Rivera is a Puerto Rican poet and translator, the 2018-2019 Poet Laureate of Philadelphia. He has received a Premio Nuevas Voces, a Juan Felipe Herrera Award, a Lambda Literary Award, and the inaugural Ambrosio Prize. His book, Algarabía, is the reason we are here tonight. Let's give one more warm welcome.
What a blessing. What a blessing. Thank you. Voy a leer de un modo un poco distinto. I read in a way different from how I usually read. Cenex describes his origin according to Ovid, and begs me, your muse, to open a path from the present so I can faithfully narrate the following adventures. According to the eternal transformation, I was born the day I was raped by a god, in his backyard, a beach full of tourists. I was a purse unattended, and he was an invading horde of umbrellas and piña coladas. Following the theft, Poseidon wasn't rough. When taking my name kindness, he offered me impenetrable skin, a shell hardened with apologies, to which I answered, the injury inflicted cannot be reset. I fructify its nightmares connectively. As compensation, I wish to be remade, less like an object you might want, that I might suffer less. Make me a man. I burn with a desire to be a brave and audacious captain, fighting in Verbosity's feverish span, bound to the ranks of loyal troops. My words jove at the end of my prayer, and emerging, I didn't recognize my voice, calling out to the empty pool with manliness. I became Caeneus, a man improved, a man improvised, a soldier who fought harder, faster, and with less than any who came before. This was my genesis, I read, attained through coerced sacrifice. The gods had scribes and bards, passing down songs, whose lyrics became the only words we knew, and whose memories weren't mine. But I recalled no originary transformation. Past the settlements, I could only glimpse a bar with my name. Only Cenex, a garrison erected on a military map. Tourists did arrive, buying buildings, renting them beyond our credit limit, but not how Ovid tells it. For if a tale seems overly heroic, it isn't ours. History can't carry our 5-star feats, because we love and die in battle. Even if the fighting ends, we can't return. The families that forgot us aren't waiting, and if for whatever reason we win, our glory will march wearing its sorrow and will wander among the wounded as if we ourselves were shot. Our telling is a war unto itself. For whom but our enemies do we narrate a name's insignificance? A rose, some poet said, could be mamey or perejil or even moon. Strangers, today I sing a new song, the canto of unwavering tenderness in the face of our extermination. May it reach every Sib living through purges, being citizened, conditionally incorporated, temporarily backed, held up as a posterette, then torn down when the riverbed goes bust. Oh muse, my tongue weighs cluttered, despite my singing, a banquet of ferns. Alabao el cable preñado de changos, alabanza para la fila en Caprix, la cortatelas, las manos casquetas y los estudios de suelo, alabanza para las bocas que izan bichos tras el muro y para la sangre positiva, alabanza para el silencio y algarabía, que estos son los trabajadores que crean un país movedizo. I sing, I dress my 30 for the day, kiss their cheeks, make them lunch. Danger on trains, we stand perilously near men who are sure they've always been. About to steal visages follow and drain gentlemen of funds. We are implacable, rotative, disarming on waters, sirens on quays, inviting them to die and join us in our impossible forms. And in my elder youth, I celebrate having lived. Already I've picked the curb for shedding. When the skin tires and finally settles, the moth-eaten couch and broken screen, a reverse trajectory, my epic begins with death. For I was born dead and died in life, with my friends held together, despite apartments with steep rent, no pets and no locals. Living room unmowed, harvest defrosted, and crops served up on cafeteria trays. I gave in my mortuary procession so much head, sucked so many lozenges, listened to such shit, and smoked such a fog. I can claim to be full, even if my memory was shot. From those blessed shatterings, I reassemble an origin. Kindness gives way to Kineas and finally to Cenex. With this tongue that you, O muse, are guiding beyond official history, so I may tell how we crossed transitions, fevers, to bury our bones in new flesh. Un nuevo nombre. Interrumpí una clase a mitad, buscando un baño que me aceptara. Todas las alarmas del edificio se dispararon, aunque esta no era una salida de emergencia. Era un piromaníaco. Mi entrepierna era fuego. En mis hojas de evaluación aparecía Virginia. Un día me puse Cenex y ya, sin más. Con el tiempo de Virginia sobró un boceto. Todavía algunos ven la sombra, la cicatriz. Nos entrenaron para el asedio. El arsenal de Poseidón era una pila de perdigones y sospecha en ruleta. Meros conejillos, nos morimos uno tras otro. Merojíos, nos entrenaron y nos entrenaron. El mar escupió nuestros cuerpos, esculpidos del coral, y crecimos como uva de playa o el trombón ronco de un crucero. A new name. I opened a door on a class mid-session, looking for a restroom that would have me. The building alarms went off, even if this was no emergency exit. I was a fire starter, my crotch fire. On my evaluation sheets, a name, Virginia. One day I began wearing Cenex just like that. With time, Virginia faded into an outline. Some say you can still see the shadow of a scar. They trained us to prepare for sieges. Poseidon's arsenal was a pile of pellets and suspicion and roulette. Mere guinea pigs. One by one, we died. Mere pigs. They trained and trained us. Spit out by the waves, our bodies sculpted from coral grew like sea grapes, or the hoarse trombone of a cruise ship. Y en honor a Caro, so Cenex, a lot happens in this first canto, but I want to say that at some point, Cenex has to learn to do nothing because he has to fail in order to figure out he's trans. He has to fuck up. And he is helped by some things called the inertias. You can think of them as fireflies or gnats. They kind of follow him around in a cloud. And they're sort of tricksters of a sort. And they encourage him to do nothing. Eventually they encourage him to smoke weed. And they only speak in sonnets. Soneto chismoso de Caro. No estoy pa' chisme hoy ni ayer. Las lenguas van a millón. Yo no estoy para el papelón, pero jode y vas a ver. Yo fui un santito al nacer. Ser diligente es gran don, ni chismoso ni cabrón, pero ese sí hay que saber. Las cosas se hablan de frente. Hay que ser conciso y claro, pero siempre estar pendiente. Del chisme yo me separo, pero es que con esta gente callarme me sale caro. Caro's gossip sonnet. I'm not here for the gossip, not today. Tongues are flapping and some say hanging out. Not my papelon, I'll find another way, but if you fuck around, you will find out. I was born a perfect saint on Saint's Day. Being diligent's a talent, no doubt. I'm not a gossip or a dick, okay? Still, you need to know what someone's about. Things should be discussed. Always be upfront. It's important to be clear and concise, but aware. Those who don't know bear the brunt. I consider yapping a kind of vice, but with some folks do more than keep it blunt. Stay quiet, and it's you who pays the price. Like deeper in English, right? No voy a leer mucho, porque sé que tenemos. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and energy. Pero sí quiero leer unas cositas. This book means so much to me. And it means a lot to be here as well. Voy a tratar de seleccionar algo que va lejos y vuela lejos. So, the third canto is a labyrinth that is a Walgreens. Which there are more Walgreens per square foot in Puerto Rico than anywhere else. Yeah. It's so funny. Okay, at the end of this Walgreens, Cenex has to find something in the center. At the pharmacy. Which he will inject, right? But sort of at the end, the pharmacist, which is based on, is named Farid Dinatar, after the poet, tells him that in order to use the tea, he has to travel and meet other trans people who are going to help him learn how to inject it. So he has to go to the camp of the 30 birds. But he has an aviary, and I'd like to share that aviary with you. El aviario de Farid. Con su canto, Farid invocó todas mis aves, y en una pajarera alborotada llegaron las chiririas, los patos de quijada colorada, los patos dominicus, los patos chorizo, las tiguas, las zaramagos, las rolitas, las domésticas palomas, las perdices, las tórtolas rabilargas, los ruiseñores, los garrapateros o garrapatos, las los pájaros bobísimos, los pavos reales, los guaraguaos y los guarahuepas, les piqui amarilles, les querequereques, los zumbadorcitos, los pollos del mangle, las gallaretas azules y comunes, las viudas, los viudos y los ostreros, los chorlitos sabaneros, les playeres, les gallegues, las charrancitas, las mil y una patas y las jodidas palometas. Llegaron y llegó la patifonía, la patidifusión, la patamalanga, les panapenes, les panapobres, en su patifornidura, con su cacareo, su caracuando, su condescencia y su condescendencia, a patearnos a todos por la puerta más musical y boceteada en mi cabecita de cabezotas. Con las aves ya todas juntas, Farid comenzó el desenlace inspirador. And I'm going to read back in another part, and then I'm going to read a final thing. Cenex unravels. To love the wrong one is to swallow a heart. To love one who never learned is to swallow a mountain, alive, still packed with feathers, lizards, fruit, and calves, a sacrificial wicker man whom you resuscitate daily, gently, until you are paramedic, farmer, and brujo, but more than those, until you are an ecosystem, a small town dedicated to harvesting this strange but stunning world. Men arrive with bulldozers and permits to tell you their time has come. And what will happen to the trees? But they are already cut and become earth that slides, flooding cities and their subways. To love like that with everything is to love against certainty, at times irreconcilable object, but it is your hands that shock you when you look down to find 3 hearts that grow, and grow, fruit scaling chest walls, leaving your mouth more mud than rain, more hunger than speech. To feel like the wrong one is to self-loathe on loop, convinced you caused great devastation by ignoring your lover's concerns. After San Preciado gave his task, I saw what kept me in a sterile house. Suspended on waves of arrebato, I turned toward the vast memory of loss and knew it was time to forgive, protecting this pretty, lightning in a blackout body. Y ahora voy a leer algo que nunca he leído, que es el final. Okay. I'm gonna try and not cry.
Here with you.
Or at least a part of the anime. No. Cenex prepara su primera inyección de testosterona. Después de que Simur cantara, la Perm se unió a los simurgianes para preguntarme si quería ayuda. Por supuesto que deseaba su apoyo y sentía un alivio apreciado de que pronto seríamos un conjunto. Pero este último paso era mío, mi preciosura. Las canciones sonaron en mis oídos, guiando el curso de mi mano. El sector bajo me indicó dónde, más arriba del glúteo mayor, pero debajo de la cadera. Me enseñó el truco de dividir la nalga y dirigir la aguja a la parcela de arriba. El tenor me ayudó con la extracción, dándole al costado un golpecito para que subieran las burbujas. Me avisó sobre posibles hematomas, pero que casi nunca pasa nada. Me dirigió hacia un tocador al contralto. Tujum se puyó para que yo lo viera. Manténla en un ángulo de 90 grados. La ve. Revisé la fecha de vencimiento y escogí un recipiente. La aguja estaba lista. Yo estaba listo, pero aún así, chico paralizado. Y si no lo estaba, ¿cómo podía asegurarme? Fue un amanecer nocturno, un sol eclipsando otro sol, luego a un tercero, el pensar que un continuo podría ser cuarteado por versos, que en otro verso otro yo en su baño en un suburbio de Villanevares, en una ciudad titulada San Juan, en el país colonia de Puerto Rico, bajo un imperio autodenominado los Estados Unidos, apodo americano. En este preciso momento estaba solo, con una jeringuilla en la mano y un coro en la cabeza, frente al espejo imaginándose una vida provocada por una boda entre quien fui y quien pronto sería. Qué idea tan necia, salvaje y exuberante, y sin embargo tan posible como lo era esta inyección de testosterona. Mi cuerpo albergaba netas potencialidades y el túnel estrecho era agujero de gusano que me acercaría puyazo tras puyazo más a mí mismo. Inyectarme té, así yo haré, pasí yo haré. El coro era yo era el coro y los sonidos eran crecientes discordancias que no envejecían. Un desastre candente, un crical, un pilacricas, un nene clitoral, tetas prepectorales, biodiversos, biodivergentes, un hueso denso, una voz que mama, maxila bolden, microbicho, metaclitumba, la caída del cabello y su exceso. Cada uno era una copia mía, cada uno trans. Fue en ese momento que supe que no importaba si esta vez lo hacía mal o si me detenía, reacio a acelerar en una zona escolar. Lo sabía con el cuerpo, con un dolor persistente que desafiaba todo sistema, lo que algunos en otros versos llaman una urgencia. Now I'll read in English so we can just talk. It's not the end, but it's almost the end. Cenex prepares his first testosterone shot. After Submerg sang, La Perm lined up with the Submergians to ask if I needed any help. I wanted support and felt appreciative relief that we would henceforth move as one. But this last step was mine, my precious. Songs rang in my ears, guiding me. The bass showed me where, above the gluteus maximus, but below the hip bone. The trick was to divide the cheek in 4 and aim for the upper quarter. The tenor assisted me in drawing it from the vial, flicking the side, causing the bubbles to float up, explained there might be bruising, but it should be mostly fine. The altos led me to a dresser, to whom jabbed himself first as an example. Keep it at a 90-degree angle. I washed, checked the expiration date, and selected a puncture-proof container. The needle was ready. I was ready, and yet I froze. What if I wasn't? How would I know? It was a nocturnal dawning, a sun eclipsing a second, then a third, to think that a continuum might be quartered by verses, that in another verse, another me, in his bathroom in a suburb named Villanevares, in a city called San Juan, in the colony country of Puerto Rico, under an empire self-titled the United States, informally declared America, in this exact moment was alone, with a syringe in his hand and a chorus in his head, facing the mirror and imagining a life ushered in by the union of who I was and who I was to become. What a feral, luxuriant, and inane idea, and yet as possible as taking this shot. My body housed gross potentialities, and the pin-thin tunnel was the wormhole that prick after prick would deliver me closer to myself. Shoot T, I will, I'll. The chorus was I was the chorus. The sounds were discordant, mounting, cacophonous, anti-harmonious, anti-natural, and anti-aging, a hot mess, un crical, a pussy pile, a clit on a boy, gourds that should be pecs, abundant, biodiverse, biodivergent, bone dense, voice blowing, maxilia bolden, microdick, metaclitoned, hair receding and exceeding, each a copy of me, somehow trans. It was at this point I knew it didn't matter if I did it wrong this time, or if I stopped, averse to speeding in a school zone, knew the way one knows, bodily, a nagging ache that defies systems, what some, in other verses, call a need. Gracias.
I thought we could just talk and
How's the questions?
Can we give one more hand for Roque? If you have any questions for Roque or for our other writers, now is the time to ask them. You are welcome to raise your hands. And also, if they're feeling shy and our other readers have questions for Roque, you're welcome to start off. Yeah. Are we shy? Oh, wait, somebody has a question? There was some pointing?
That was a sign language, yes.
Oh, that was a sign language. Yes, we're shy. Okay. Questions are percolating. Percolate.
I like
Send it
percolate.
out. Percolate? Right, percolate questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Your last piece was so energetic. And it was palpable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I cried that one out.
I cried when you read it just now. I'm not gonna lie. It was incredible, right? Do you want to maybe, while they're percolating, because I know there's questions percolating in these fabulous minds here, but maybe you could tell us about like how you began, how you knew that this was going to become an epic poem, like what pulled you into the project?
First, I want to say that there's nothing better than reading with two cancers. They're so attentive and kind, and they really touch my like Cancer Moon energy, and they really bring it out in me. And they're just like, what do you need, And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know. I wrote some stuff. I don't know what to say. No, thank you so much, De verdad, Caro, for the question, and also just the reading, and just so many feelings. I honestly, when I started writing some of this, I didn't really know it was going to be an epic. I think at some point I knew I wanted to write an epic, but like when I was a kid and I was like, it's going to be the whole history of Puerto Rico. Crazy, que yo pensaba. But, it's definitely Puerto Rico through some of my lens, or Cenex is Puerto Rico, certainly, which is Algarabía. But once I knew I started writing it, I was very scared, honestly, because it felt very ambitious as a project, and is very ambitious. And so I was mostly scared that I wouldn't do it, and yet that wouldn't be able to do it. But that felt a lot like when I started figuring out that I wanted to transition. The first time I figured it out, which wasn't medical, and the second time that was more medical. And in both cases, it was as terrifying as it was to write this. So in a sense, I said, well, that feels like I'm on the right path, because that was something that I'm glad I did. And I'm glad I'm still doing it, because it doesn't stop necessarily. And so I said, okay, I would rather try than live a life of regret. And so that's how I feel about it. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm very interested in the translation process. I very much love how you described it, that it's it feels like parallel universes in a way. So I'm very interested in just the process of the translation. How did it go about, and did it ever change over time, and if so, how?
No sé. No sé. I usually answer the translation questions very logically, and I think I'm gonna answer it from a feelings place this time because I'm in my feelings. Translating is kind of like you're building a crossword puzzle and then you're pulling it apart again and then you're rebuilding it from a completely different place, and somehow in the process it's changed into a whole different puzzle. It's like the hardest, most fun and challenging and weird thing, and it never feels complete because there is no exact right way to translate it. My joke is you put two translators in a room and they're always going to disagree, right? But it's not because one of them is right and the other is wrong. It's because that disagreement is the same process that's happening in their minds when they're working through the translation. And I think that this time I allowed myself to not think of it so much as a translation and more as one book that at the same time is two books. And I think that's how I feel about my life. There is something I was trying to talk about or put into words, Gato, earlier was what it feels like to look at my older books and read them as Roque, not as Raquel. And and at the same time it is me. It's not me, but it's also not me. And I think that in that sense, there is a closeness between translation and transition, but I don't think I can pinpoint it beyond that.
I'm curious how you were inspired to do this format, like an epic poem, and I'm curious how you got there and what inspired that.
I'm gonna answer in a very nerdy way. So epics tend to be thought of as nation building. Not always, right? But something around the formation of nations or the origins of nations or the origins of groups or the origins of peoples. And then, I instinctively wanted to write an epic, but I hadn't. And usually when I'm drawn to a form, I know it's for a reason. So I'm also trying to figure out what it is in that form that's working with or it's drawing me to it. And so I went back and I started rereading some epics, right? And what I found the second, third time reading some of these was how utterly wild they are. Odysseus is thrown, there's a metaphor in the Odyssey where Odysseus is thrown up on the rocks and his skin is torn from his body, and it's compared to an octopus and the little stones and the little rocks sticking to the octopus's suckers. So what a wild metaphor, because it's like the Odysseus is what? The stone, the skin, it's such a it took me a long time to understand what was happening in the metaphor exactly. And also I was like, what the hell does this have to do with the nation? What does that have nothing to do with the nation? It's just, this is a metaphor. It's a beautiful metaphor. And I think those were the moments where I was like, what I like most about these epics are the ways in which they don't actually follow the linear path of this journey, where there's a whole aside on something, where there's a whole debate about something random, right? And I thought, if this is an attempt to narrate the origin of a nation, then all I'm learning is that there's no such thing as a nation, right? There's no such thing as actually delineating where that begins or ends. So that was one thing. And another is that I was working on a digital project for about 2.5 years, in these different archives. And I was shocked, I shouldn't have been, but I was, to find that there were no openly trans writers in these archives before the 1990s. And so it was devastating to me because poetry's always been a place where I go for solace. I love poetry, I love reading poetry, I love reading poets. And I knew trans poets, so I know that we've existed. I knew trans people that were from before the 90s, so I knew we were around, right? And so it felt like an emptiness. And I said, trans people, we have many ways of dealing with our existence in the world, but we deserve origin stories too, as a people. as a people within our respective peoples. And so I wanted to write those histories, but I wanted them to be trans. I wanted it to be trans. And that meant fun and funny and weird and tragic and all the things that I saw in transness for myself. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
I just want to underline, if I could, that the book is really funny. It's wild and speculative and profound and full of subtext and epic and serious. You know, like there's depth, all this depth, but it's so funny. Like Walgreen, like that ride in the labyrinth of Walgreen and all those absolutely wild cards, and it's really funny too. It's uproariously.
I appreciate that. It's very like dry Capricorn humor.
Okay, Capricorn humor. Okay, well, this Cancer dug it. We have,
Makes sense.
and this Cancer too. The Cancer front is down. We have time for one more question. Whose question will it be? Yes.
So I'm kind of fascinated by the two languages, I have to say. Coming from a country of two languages as well, a long way from here. In my first language, there are 37 words in the west of Ireland to describe rain. There's 2 in English.
Oh.
But I'm curious for you, as I listen to Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, is one of the 2 versions more true? Because Spanish is your first language.
They both came at the same time. I'm one of those weird people. No, I mean I was born in my West, and about 6 months old, my parents took me to the United States, but my mother's second language was English. This was my father's. And so I learned Spanish at home first, but I also was in the world, so I also acquired English. So I can't actually tell which came first. I don't know.
Do you think one of the 2 is truer?
No, because the people that know me here know me in one way, that the people back home don't know me, and the people back home know me in a way that the people here don't know me. And so I don't think one is truer, but I think that few people have seen me in both spaces, and that is the truer version, which is this. Right?
Well said.
I tried. I have a question for each of you, right? My first question is for Alexis. It is really, really hard to write sonnets, and they feel like they're not even sonnets, which is pretty impressive to me. And I know that might not be necessarily a compliment, but it is for me because I feel there's an effortlessness to that. And at the same time, they don't feel like, they're just kind of like, I couldn't tell where the enjambment was happening, and it was very impressive to me that I couldn't tell where the enjambment was happening. And I was wondering if you could talk about how you feel about sonnets, and then I'll ask Caro the question. You were saying some really interesting things to me about sonnets, but I kind of want to hear you also say it to other people, because people say it differently when they say it to other people.
That's true. I appreciate your question, and I also appreciate how you were talking in your response about how forms draw you in, and you're trying to figure out why. And, the sonnet's been around since, the late 1200s. It's been around for a really long time, and it's, it doesn't give a fuck about borders, and it crosses languages, and it crosses, intent, and it's originally supposed to be for this beloved, and, there's a long sonnet tradition, American sonnet tradition, Wanda Coleman, Terrence Hayes, and so there have been a lot of people that have been exploring talking to other people instead of a beloved, or trying to take a place that is usually for the beloved and turning it on its head, talking to about Terrence Hayes assassin, past and future assassin. So it's interesting to think about this is also going into nerddom, which I think we're all pro nerd, so I love that. Anyway, so I think I've been thinking about the trans sonnet and the sonnet's capacity to hold transformation because it's inherent to the form. It holds something called the volta, which is like called the turn, and it's actually like this movement that happens. And I love thinking about how it's not like it's, although it can be tracked in the form, it's like a movement. I don't know, like it's also an action. I want to keep doing this, and I guess like I came to this sonnet from the prose block because I liked how everything was compressed, and I have a lot of Virgo placements, but I'm also a Pisces, so I love like having a container that's also flexible that I can also be defiant in. Like I love knowing the rules so I can break them. Like I love that. There's a pleasure I get. And the sonnet's full of rules and full of baggage. And so I like to play there, and I like to think about its history and also defy it at the same time. And that feels hot to me. It feels fun. So yeah, I'm trying to track this kind of like, there's a lot of trans people writing sonnets right now. And so I'm trying to track that and archive that because I think it's really necessary to the form moving forward.
Caro.
Roque.
Caro. I too can say it. I was really thinking about how powerful each voice was in what you were reading, but also, like, you know, like every time it was like I was about to cry with each one. And I was really wondering how it was for you listening to so many elders, like essentially have all of this wisdom, this like deep, real wisdom, you know. Was there a moment in that where, because a lot of it feels very uplifting and very sort of like to younger people, to another generation. Was there a moment in which you experienced it as sad or as heartbreaking, not as uplifting?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for this generous question, for the generosity too of bringing us in questions. It's your party, you know, and and we're here partying with you. So I appreciate that. I interviewed 30 people for this archive. All of the interviews are actually accessible to the public. You can listen to them. They're at the Oral Center, the Center for Oral History at Columbia University, housed online. But you know, it's not the same as like having a book and like having them come out into the world in this way. There's 20 of the narrators who are in this book. So I made a decision. The beat was Jacqueline Woodson, the writer and MacArthur Fellow, who selected 10 writers across the country to contribute to this archive of elders of color. And she invited me to join to specifically do queer and trans elders of the West Coast of color. And then I chose to really center trans and gender nonconforming folks from within those communities. So this is still a very undertold component of so many of our communities' stories. I was absolutely blown away. So it was 20 of them. There's 20 in the book. I was absolutely blown away constantly by being in people's presence, by their generosity, also their trust. The way that people trusted me with their stories was incredible. Also people like Adela Vasquez, rest in power. She's the only one who has since passed away since the creating of the book. Did anybody know her here? Because she was like a trans mother icon here in San Francisco. She was the first trans Latina, open trans Latina, to be hired by the city of San Francisco during the AIDS crisis. And she would not sit down to the interview until she brought me into the kitchen. She was just such a queen. And she brought me into her kitchen. She had stayed up late baking a cake from scratch. And I had to eat the cake and the little sandwichitos and the té, you know, and everything. Like it was like so, people letting you into their hearts and lives. And it was a very stunning, profound experience for me. And I had to continue to sort of go, wow, this is really personally profound and mind-blowing and like nourishing my journey more than I can say, but also I gotta like stay focused on this person in front of me. I read some optimistic parts, some loving, encouraging parts, because I want to spread that, and I think it's really important to remember that we do have our trans elders of color who are here, who have plenty to say, who are alive, who are 76 and saying you can have a magnificent life, and we need to hear those things. We need to hear the trans and non-binary and MB and genderqueer and two-spirit joy and triumph right now, especially in the face of all of the hostility and attacks going on. But there is a lot of heartbreak in these people's lives and in the book too. And I, definitely portrayed that too. There's a whole chapter on the AIDS crisis, its impact on communities, and how especially trans women of color spearheaded, services within their communities because they were just like, nobody was, going to do anything for them but them. So that is in there too. There's wrenching heartbreak. You feel the cost of what it took for some of these folks in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s to what it cost them to become their whole selves. But that does make the moments of triumph, I think, all the richer and sweeter too. Thank you, Roque. Muchas gracias, Roque. Un aplauso para Roque Raquel Salas Rivera and Alexis Aceves Garcia.
Keep it going for these two.
I feel deeply blessed and highly favored to be in the presence of you three this evening. I'm so grateful. And thank you all for being a part of this as well. I will be very brief because they all said it better than I could. But it is very important to be in trans spaces, uplift trans voices, and be together and do this always, but now especially. And I'm so grateful for you all for being here. We have books by Roque and Caro at the front register. You can find them there. You can come back here to have them signed. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Thank you so much.